Alright, stream is on slow chat, so every 120 seconds. And this video is just being streamed because I can and is not meant to be construed with a cut down edited guide. It's rather just the raw footage that I'm going to work from to create those tutorials. So this is a fat console. We'll be doing RGH 1.2. I think I called it a Jasper, but this is actually a Falcon. I should change that. Actually, you know what I'll do is I'll just say Jasper / Falcon because it is the same mod. It is the same process for these. Guys, why are you down in the basement? What are you doing?
Just playing with the Legos.
Okay, can you take those upstairs and go play?
Leave the Legos here. Go upstairs. You have plenty of toys to play with.
You can play with them.
Daddy is working. Okay.
Quiet.
Take them upstairs, guys. Uh-oh.
That's it. Just go upstairs. Leave them alone. Leave them here. Upstairs.
Hunter!
Go.
You're dragging my pants off.
Upstairs. Go. Now.
Alright. Brown boy, I think that's the second time in a row that you called me Alan. My name's Aaron, just to clarify. I do have a brother named Alan. My wife is irritated with the children. Can I make a video on how to unbrick an RGH? Yeah, that might be some topic I could cover at some point. Maybe next time I get an unbrick in, I'll actually, I'll do it as a stream so you guys can kind of watch through the process. Did I miss a screw? No, it's just firm down in there. There we go. My goal was to try to take these videos up a notch and actually show how to like open the consoles and that sort of stuff too. This particular one was so dirty I could tell before I even got it fully open that I wanted to go blow it out with the air compressor outside. So I did that, which required opening it. So I didn't catch the opening of it on video. Man, what is fighting me here? They're never this difficult to get up. Oh, I straight up did. Look at that. I left a screw. You guys might have caught that for me if I didn't have the chat on so slow. I've got an alert here from my stream that says my keyframes are wrong. Are you guys seeing a bunch of buffering? Oh, and look at that. It's going to come right out. Yeah, that was no good. Yeah, you can see kind of how dirty it must have been because this is the stuff that was trapped under the motherboard that I didn't get. And there was a couple of good ones the size of an Easter egg or so of dust bunnies in there. They get dirty though. It happens. I used to worry about it more, but now that I have my own air compressor, I can just take them outside and just blow them out, and it's not a huge deal. When I was using it before in my old townhouse, I had to use canned air, and you know, that was, I had to purchase, right, canned air, because I didn't have anywhere that I was allowed to keep a generator, or not a generator, a air compressor. Jesus, I can't talk. Brown boy, New Year's resolution looking good. Yeah, no, I haven't. We'll see. We'll see how things go. You guys will get to watch because I should be doing more streams. It's probably going to take me a few months to collect all of the the data that I need, or all of the video, raw video that I need to cut into the edited tutorials. So just to catch everybody up to where I'm at and what I've done. So all I did was decase the console, remove the fan, remove the heat shroud that routes the fan air. Those are actually really important. Then I've removed all of the screws from the back so the motherboard can be removed. The next step I'm going to do is prep the NAND headers so that I can read and write to the NAND on the board. Nice and clear. If you send me, so Tiny, I think you asked about that last stream, and I'm just not interested. I'm not doing rapid fire stuff, so thank you, but no thank you. Do I sell computers? No. How much would it cost to UGH it yourself? I think you mean RGH, and keep an eye on my site. If you're out for the education of it, I've got videos that'll already walk you through everything, but I'm hoping to move towards putting together like bundles. So I'll post kind of a how-to guide, like how to identify if your console is a Trinity, right? And then once you've identified it, I hope to be able to provide like a full Amazon buying list of all the soldering supplies and solder paste and flux and all that sort of stuff, as well as sell via my website the stuff that you can't really get on Amazon, which is going to be like the NAND X and the Cool Runner chips and that sort of stuff. So what I'm doing here is installing the NAND header. I'm going to bring in JRunner, and I'm going to show you guys, if you go to the images, NAND X FAT install, you get this image, which is those two headers that we're looking at. Let me see if I can get the zoom level on this a little better. Take zoom out, yeah. So it's going to be difficult to see at this scale and resolution here, but if we flip these back and forth, you should be able to see that this point, right, that header, and then this header up here are exactly what this header and this header is representing. So you literally just count the circles over to where you're going and connect via the color-coded wires. Ooh, let's see. I'm actually kind of missing the chat. Maybe I'll turn the thing to every 60 seconds. We'll let you message twice as often. I think that's kind of fun. Alright, so back to the video. Do the actual pre-tinning of the spots. And then that's ground. The ground or yellow wire in all of the NAND X installs is oftentimes takes more heat applied to it in order to get it to stick. No, I don't do send-ins on the daemon install. If you go to my website and look at the RGH send-in services, there is a article that says dual NAND explanation. It's just like a $0 item, but it was a way I could put on the website kind of an explanation about my opinions of dual NANDs and why it's not worth it. Basically, to quickly summarize, is two physical consoles are cheaper and easier to maintain than one dual NAND console, and are just it's just a better option for like 98% of people out there. So if that's the case, then I don't want to bother with it, sort of thing, is kind of my opinion. Alright, so now I've got my NAND X wires color coded back to the diagram that we looked at before, which in the final edited version of all this I will superimpose over the screen. So I'm just following the color coding So the first wire I'll install is the black wire. Let's see if I can do this and keep you guys in getting a shot now. There we go. That lets me do it. So it's all about, with soldering, having a little bit of solder in both locations already, and then basically your iron is only there to melt both of them very briefly so that they then connect. So you can see on the tip of my little wire, I've actually got a little solder blob kind of on the end of there, and then this is a pre-tinned spot that's already got a little blobby of solder. So when I hold them right next to each other like that, all my iron really has to do is provide a little bit of heat to allow them to bridge, and you get a really nice, firm, solid, readable connection. A Falcon overheat with RGH? Sure, any console could overheat with RGH. The fats are definitely more susceptible to that, and if he runs this thing real hard, it's definitely, you know, going to be more likely than if he kept it retail and didn't run it hard. But the cool thing about RGH is that it will allow you to set custom profiles for your fan. So if you want to, you can change the target temperature profiles, or you can actually just permanently increase the fan speed. I'm sure you guys aren't being able to see that, but there it is. Sorry, I know I'm being terrible. How much for the unbrick service? So store.weekendmodder.com, in the header there's a thing that says unbrick service. There's a couple of options. You probably want to go check them both out. One of them is a single, like, one-time unbrick service, and the other is I install basically what I'm doing right now, except for I install them permanently laid down neat and flat. I install a set of NAND wires on your console, and then also sell you a programmer so that you can, in the future, if you brick, unbrick yourself. So I'm going to get this from top down so that hopefully my big fat hands don't mess that up. So let's see, fat green is the top position here. So we'll just, again, there's a little bit of solder on the end there. I'm just holding it to the little blob that I placed, the pre-tinning, and then it just bridges into a nice smooth connection. And the same story here. All right. This is a Falcon motherboard. It's approximately, what, going to be 2006, 2007. So now what I need to do is connect standby power. So very important that it's just standby power. Nothing's plugged in. I don't even have the ring of light board in. Bring my Nandex over, and I just plug it in to the sensor. And then I pop over to JRunner, hit the little question mark, it does the query, it sees that it's recognized it's either a Falcon or an Opus. I know it's a Falcon, it'll figure it out here shortly. So I hit the read NAND button. I have a giant monitor, so it pops up off the area that I'm capturing this. So I don't bother to input a name, I just say okay, because it's not actually searchable, it doesn't save it for me anywhere that I could ever find. And then now it's reading those NANDs. So while we do that, I'm going to work on the LEDs since I left the ring of light board out this time, and I'm trying to not dilly-dally and get this thing done quickly. So let's see, let's go back to the camera and we'll hit the LEDs. This one, I don't think I have a diagram. That's not, well, yeah, I've got one on my computer I can show. So the first things first with these fat LED lights, you just use the solder float method in order to float these old LEDs off. So it just runs some solder back and forth, and you end up with 3 little tabs. And these little LEDs are big enough that for me, they really clog up my little copper mesh tip cleaning tool. So I don't put them into that. I actually really do something dangerous that you're not supposed to do, and I just flick them in the trash off the end of my soldering iron. So I just move my arm really fast and then stop it in like a flicking motion and flick them directly into the trash can. They basically cool in the air on the way down, so they've never burned anything or caught anything on fire. But now that I've said this in public on YouTube, if my house ever burns down, my insurance company is probably going to decide that they don't want to pay for it because of this. Anyway, I flipped that off. Alright, and then we get the center one, but I dropped something over here. There we go. What color LED do I prefer? I really don't care. Doesn't make a difference to me. I buy blue in the most quantity because that's what most people seem to want. I buy blue like 1,000 LEDs at a time. The rest of them I buy a couple hundred at a time. So that noise was the first NAND read finishing. And then, so now what I'll do is pull out a little card here. Get what color LEDs does this guy want? Red. Red, red, red. Oh, my wife must have took them. Where are they at? There they are. I see them. Hold on. Alright. Why don't I make glitch lights on my consoles? So, most of the time I do consoles now, I do either RGH 1.2 or RGH 2 using the 15432 timing files in both cases, right? Because 15432, he's the guy on the forums, he released both RGH 1.2, so you can see those tiny little specs. And he did the sRGH or whatever. And the light pattern, the pattern that actually flashes on those consoles is, instead of like 1 pulse per glitch cycle, it's like 5 pulses per glitch cycle. So because of that, it doesn't make a lot of sense to put the glitch light on the front. I guess from my perspective, because I figured customers would count each one of those little bitty pulses as a glitch, and they would say, "Oh, Weekend Modders consoles, take 47 glitches to glitch." When in fact, there's like a cycle to it. It's like a really quick blip 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 blip, light flashing sequence, and then it either is successful or not. It's not a one-on, one-off thing like the older stuff. All right, so let's go back over to the game capture here. Maybe I'll save these LEDs and put them on. Well, no, I need to put them on because you guys are going to want to see it boot. In the JRunner, you can see that it did find a bad block in the NAND. It's totally normal. It's completely reasonable to find at least one. And then as long as you see all this stuff about remapped and then NANDs are the same at the end, that's totally fine. That's what JRunner's supposed to do. It's handling its business. So, yeah. So anyway, I can go ahead and disconnect power now, right? So my camera's pointed over here, but the Nandex was still plugged in, so I can disconnect that, and I can just disconnect standby power, and then we'll just finish these LEDs first before we move on to anything else. So you guys probably do want to see the diagram for this, though. So I need to change my view. This is the part where you're seeing it live and not the final edited cut version, right? So this is what you got to suffer with. There we go. Where's my image at? Looking for the image that will show you the polarity that I'm lining up with here. Is it in my fat RGH folder? Yeah, here it is. There we go. So this is the diagram, right? So the idea is that there's a positive side, there's a center, And then there's another. The way they did this was actually via negative switching. The positive is always enabled on this, and then they switched which negative they had on, which either turned this old LED green or red. But because we want the LEDs to light up when they should have been either green or red, right? We want it to light up in both cases. We want it to be the error LEDs as well as the regular LEDs. What we're going to do is in each one of these scenarios, we're going to lay our LED from the positive to the center, and then we're going to bridge from the center to this side, so that if either negative switch is on, the positive will always be on and the LED will light up. So it will light up when it would have lit up green for normal stuff, but it will also light up when it would have lit up for red, because we only have single color LEDs. I can't, if I put red LEDs in this thing, how is he going to know it's an error code other than it just comes up, right? So you've got to do the bridging in order to make it do both functions. So that's what we're going to do here. So I'm going to close this image and go back to the webcam, and then I think you guys had some questions here. You think Jaspers are better than Slims? I think Jaspers are really good, but the XC GPU that combined them in the Slims is arguably better. Why don't I make glitch lights? I answered that one. I know the points in the JR programmer don't have the metal bit in them. That's totally fine. If they're through hole, if they go all the way through, so like some of these look like that, right? Those are, if it'll focus here, come on, focus. Those don't have a center fill in them. You can probably just about see it now. They're out of focus a little bit because they're covered in flux. But there you go. Now it's really good in focus. See how there's a hole there? Just fill it with solder. It's totally fine. The LED color is red. So what I'm going to do here is pick up a little tiny LED. And there's no way that I could capture this, but the LEDs themselves do have a polarity indicated on them. I can see that when I look at the back of the LEDs, but you guys are not going to be able to see that. So you're going to want to check the polarity on your LED. And in the final edited, not live streamed version of this is probably where I will edit in a little lesson or section where I talk about what the markings on the back of the LED mean about the polarity and how you can look at them and set them down and whatever. But for today, you're just going to have to trust me that I'm looking at the polarity and doing this correctly. So now I've got it down on the pad, but I just need to bridge it over to here. Sometimes it's a little stubborn. There it goes. Yeah, that's bridged. So that's what will make it light up in both the LED condition and the error condition. Because we're soldering, that's the positive end. And then the center is one of the negatives. That's the actual green negative. And then the one on the end here is the red negative, and we bridge them so that if either one of them is on, the LED lights up. Yeah, I know I can bridge the stock LEDs to make the red ones and make the error code thing permanent, whatever. But in all honesty, the little mini LEDs here are brighter and output better. Hey dude, when I buy my co-runner program, can I pay you extra to send me LEDs? Adding LEDs to the store is something that I might consider, actually. That would be something that I could easily list and buy in a big bulk and give you guys a good price on. But no, not right now. I don't have a product set up for that. So, but you know, if I get some more requests for it, I would consider it for sure. The little LEDs. Wouldn't mind having a little line of tools and stuff. Golden, can you send your console in for it to be RGH? Absolutely. Store.weekendmodder.com. click on the send in services and you will be able to see my RGH and JTAG offerings. So since all we've done is read the NAND, we didn't write anything to it, I can do a test boot right now just to prove that we haven't messed anything up, and it'll also test our LEDs. Not going to let it go very far in the boot sequence though, because we don't have our fan in and we don't have our shroud in, so I'm just going to do a really quick LED hit here and just verify that it boots, because it's still retail right now, so it should boot totally normally. So there you go, and it's booted up just fine, and I'm going to kill it and cut the power. There we go. They are 0603 SMD Sierra Mike Delta LEDs. 0603 SMD LEDs. I have two dogs. I have a Goldie. Where's Goldie? Lots of times she's laying on the floor behind me. She's a lab / maybe some beagle. She's a mutt. We get all of our dogs used, right? So and then Rocket is a Italian Greyhound / maybe Dachshund. Oh, you guys are not even getting to see what I'm doing. No, if you can't type 0603 SMD LED, then that's like 9 letters or something. It's not even that much. You can figure that out. So I'm going to take this out. Oh, it looks like it's caught. There we go. So what I did is I took my RGH 1.2 Cool Runner Rev C out of the package, and there's an adhesive backing on the back side of that. I peeled it off and I stuck that down. You're RGHing 1.2 a Falcon. What glitch chip is the best? This one that I'm using right here, and you're about to see it insta-boot this Falcon, so no problems. Corona Rev C, that's what I got. Do RGH Xenons? No, I do not. Alright, I might have to slow the chat down again because it's making me work slower. I'm going to do it to 90 seconds. Maybe that'll be a good medium or a good compromise speed. Alright, so next bit that I'm going to do is just pre-tin all the pads on the console that I'm going to use. For RGH 1.2 we will use power, ground, A, B, C, and D. We will not use E and F, so I don't bother to pre-tin those pads. Additionally, as far as the settings on the chip go, let's see if the camera will focus on that if I move my hand away. Cool. So it does. So you might notice that this is typically one of the adjustable options mentioned in a lot of the tutorials. I find that either orientation, whether it's bridged 1, 2, and then 2, 3, or opposite, it doesn't make a lot of difference. The one thing that does make a lot of difference is this JP bridge. This one that's labeled JP underneath it. That needs to be there. If it's not on your chip, then bridge it with solder. And then obviously the slim switch will go to fat because we're doing a fat console. So there we go. And I wish the webcam or this other camera focused faster. It does come into focus eventually, but I wish it was faster at it. So first things that I do to the glitch chip are run power to it. So I have a little wire laying here, so might as well make use of it. That will go from the point that was up here near the NAND header that was already pre-tinned. So what I will do is, once again, the same technique for soldering applies, right? You hold the pre-tinned end of the wire right next to the little blob, and then your iron is really only serving to just briefly melt the two so they become one nice pretty little ball of happiness there. And then, so that is 3V 3. It was 1 over on the top side from the NAND header pin, and then I'm just going to go right into the 3V 3 connection on the cool runner, and then I just tough this down a little bit. Now I'm going to get another little bit of wire out of my drawer for the ground. Xenons are 100% RGHable. It used to be that they were definitely only good for key recovery because their boot times were so atrocious. But I'm hearing lately that it might have been 15432 or somebody's figured out a good RGH 1.2 method on them. But frankly, I really just don't care. It's a Xenon is so close to death at this point. Like, unless you're willing to have your fans run like a vacuum cleaner, you don't want one anyway. So why worry about RGHing a super unreliable, overheating death trap? Like, why would you do that? So I just pretend that wire out of the video, but what I'm doing is anchoring it to the back 10 there. I'm using that as my ground point. So that is power and ground. Now the next one that I actually install, I don't use standard like the 30 gauge AWG wire for. I use what's called wrapping wire or Kynar wire, Kynar. So it's really thin and it's single strand. It's not strands twisted together. It's one solid piece of conductor inside. And this works really well for the RGH 1.2. I do recommend the extra expensive getting Kynar wire. Last couple of times I checked, you could get like 10-15 feet of it on eBay for $2-3 in various colors and stuff. So it's still a pretty cheap option. I buy it 100 feet at a time in these spools, but you know, whatever. Reese, Jasper, RF board, LED, hard drive, freestyle. The terabyte hard drive, you might get $225, $230 for it because it's a fat, something like that. Yeah, I'd be interested too. Somebody, the guy who asserted that Xenons were 100% RGHable, link to a TET, man, or a proof video or something. That'd be cool. We'd all like to see it. So, I don't know why I was trying to strip that. I need to force it through the board first. So, what I'll do now is the point C. So, point C is actually visible in the shot right now. It's going to be this point. But the way that I get to the top side of the board is via this little hole right here under the X-clamp. So I'm taking the wrapping wire and I'm going to create kind of a fish hook to it by curling my fingers when I bend it. So it's got a natural kind of bend to it, and then I'm going to insert it into the little pinhole here, and then kind of force feed it through using my pair of tweezers. So I'm going to grab very close to the hole and then kind of gently feed it through. And then when I flip the board over here, you can see that it's popped out right from underneath the heatsink here, and I can pull a bunch of extra through quite easily. Alright, so I'm going to now strip the end, hopefully. The strippers aren't working very well. I ordered another pair. Those are pretty old, and I think they got beat up a little bit. So I exposed quite a bit too much end there. You might have saw too with the pliers, I twisted up and pulled away to keep that little tiny bit of end wire from landing on the console and shorting something out. Alright, so as I said, that one's going to C, and you can see that I still haven't trimmed the wire. We actually have C connected all the way through down to the roll now. So what I do at this point is I rotate the console, and the part that you want to see is the wire routing that we use here. So the wire goes more or less straight down the side of the AV port, and then you want it to go straight back to the Actually, let me turn on my hot glue. Oh, I already did. Cool, yay me. So wires straight down the AV port, straight over back to the heatsink, and then straight over towards the hole. So I bend more or less as close as I can get to kind of a 90-degree corner right there, straight back. And then that corner is where I apply my little bit of hot glue. So on each direction, so that corner is maintained, just a couple of little dabs to hold it in place. Because then, once those have a little bit of strength to them, we can pull the line from the underside ever so gently, and it straightens out, and the wire now is more or less straight, and then under, right? It's this area in general that we're avoiding. If you route your wiring over that, you can end up with a console that just straight up doesn't boot because of the wire routing. Change the wire placement and it will immediately boot. It's totally weird, but it's definitely true. So now that it's all pulled up tight up front, flip the console back over, bring my length up to the point that I mentioned before, and then now I trim it, and I end up not using or not making any waste in my wire. So it's how I don't, because for a while I would just eyeball it and trim it, and I was ending up with like a million little 1-inch pieces of this wiring, and that's just useless. So, oh man, come on. This stripper is really annoying. It used to work really well, but as it hasn't aged well, I use the crap out of it, so I'm happy to buy a new one. Alright, so now you can see I've got the end of the wire stripped, and I'm going to use... can you apply to be a stream mod? Everybody's being cool right now, so we'll run without one, but if somebody gets uncool and that becomes necessary like it was one time, then we'll do it again. Right now everybody's being cool, so no problems. Do I use a double shielded cable for D-point? No way, man. You're about to see this thing insta-boot with just Kynar wire. Why would I waste money and effort on a double shielded cable? Alright, so now we've got our C-point connected, right? And I'm going to put a little bit of glue just back from the point, just to give it some strength. And then I usually put a little dab back here too, just as a little backup reinforcement. So if anybody tugs on it from the top side, whatever, we don't just disappear and break off and ruin the console. Alright, so the next wire that we'll be installing will be the one that will go into A. And as you can see here, now that I've turned the console, there is a through hole right here. And that's actually what we're going to go through. And then we're going to come out and connect to the solder to that little point right here. So there's a capacitor, and then just below it is that little resistor that's just off the tip of the iron or the tweezers. So we'll pop up here and we'll connect to there. You have a xenon, could I RGH it? No, there was some other guy that said xenons are RGHable. I have no idea. I don't offer RGH for anything older than a Falcon. So this model that I'm doing right now, which you can see from the power socket, is a Falcon, would be the oldest 360 that I would be willing to RGH. Maybe if this xenon method is proven to me and somebody sends me a link or something, or I could go investigate and report back to you guys maybe next stream if I get some time to do that. But as of right this moment, as far as I know, xenons are not RGHable, so I would not accept one for Ascendant service. Alright, so same technique as last time. Shove it in the hole and push. Alright, and you can see the bit has come out there. and I grab it with the tweezers and done. Sometimes you need a little more force. There we go. So now we've pulled a good length of it through. Strip a bit of the wire. That time it worked well. Maybe it's operator error. And then again, I said this one was A. So we liquefy pad A, drop it in there. And then we want to follow the exact same wire route that we did with the C wire. This is A is PLL bypass, I think is the official name of that point. So this time you can tell when I'm trying to push it down to the corner and keep this back down as well. I don't have quite enough length to do it, so I'm going to pull a little bit more length from the bottom. So now, more or less just lay the wires right over top of each other pretty closely. And hit it with some glue. It might be a little excessive, but it's really easy to get to come up with a tiny bit of isopropyl alcohol. No, Brandon, don't apologize about it being old. I'm just saying this is the oldest one that works reliably with the RGH methods. That's all. I wasn't trying to imply that it's somehow less than or whatever. A Falcon can be a totally decent RGH, no problems. Like, there's no need to apologize. Would I mod an Xbox One? If I could, if there was a mod out for it. Alright, so again, we're going to this point. So I'm measuring the wire to just past that, and I'm going to trim it. And then I'll strip a tiny bit of the end of it off. Hopefully, if my strippers will cooperate. And of course they don't want to, so I'm going to try really carefully to do it by hand, and I exposed way too much wire, but I overcut for a reason. So we'll trim that down to a reasonable length and hope that we still have the length we need to reach the point. Yeah, we're good. Alright, so with that one, I like to put a little tiny bit of flux on it. This point is defined in the games is all I do. No, dude, I didn't look at your disk drive any more than what you saw in the stream. Literally, as soon as it ended, I packed it up and sent it back because it was exactly like that when you sent it. So I didn't look into it at all. So I'm going to go to the JRunner here for a second. I'm going to go into the Cool Runner FATS wire. So this would be RGH1 install, typically, is what this diagram usually is, but it uses the same A point. So the point that we're doing right now, A, that point that it's pointing at, so here, that's what we're doing on the back side of the board right now, is this one. So I'll screen cap and just put this image in the final edited version of the tutorial, but that's what I wanted you guys to see it specifically called out in a good quality image. Alright, so that point that we just saw is that guy right there. Alright, so I'll use a little bit of solder and pre-tin him. And then with this wire, it's just a matter of having a little bit of solder on the end of your iron and getting it hot and going right down in. So there it is, all nice and purdy and connected. Maybe I can get in a close shot for you. So it's a nice little clean connection. So we'll clean it up with a little bit of Q-tip. I'm going to get this C point up here while I'm at it. And then I apply back away from the point a generous little daub of hot glue, because that bad boy, if it gets ripped out, is a giant pain in the ass to fix. Mr. Blue Snow, I am in the middle of a live stream. I'm not going to click links from people in the chat because you can't decide whether or not a 0603 SMD LED is a 0603 SMD LED. Grease, stop it. We're not having a live tutorial session here. I'm gonna turn the chat off if we can't. We're trying to take over everything, but that's. I mean, I don't know. Maybe I'm being weird. I'm sorry if I'm being weird, but it just. I'm not gonna stop every 10 seconds, I guess, and answer a question. I run out. This. Maybe I'm wrong. Let me think. A live stream, I'm talking to people, or I'm doing a tutorial. If I'm just doing the tutorial, I should probably just have the recording on. So live stream, people are being totally reasonable by asking questions. That's not a question. I'm totally talking to myself. Live streaming on YouTube right now, which is probably should be embarrassing. But this is kind of my process. All right, so let me read through these. Tutorial, YouTube, tut. That's tut. Here is video. That's something else. Okay. All right, let's go ahead. /stream, your dig not work. So I answered that one. I didn't dig into your disk drive. It was broken like that before. If you're really that concerned about it, I wish you would have said something before I sent it back, because it's already packed up, ready to go back out. I sent a link. Look up in the chat. What link are you flipping talking about? The tut is here. You want me to go read somebody else's tutorial? Here's the Amazon link. Maybe I can go there. Search SMT0603. Yes, that's the right kind of LEDs. Although at $10, that's way stupid overpriced, like big time. Okay, yay, dash launch. Yay, you did my Xbox last night. How would I take XEX and dash launch and put it on a 250 gig hard drive from your slim memory unit? You can use Freestyle Dashboard in order to copy and paste them straight up using the file browser options. You could also use XEX menu to do it either way. I use 6040. Somebody asked, what solder do you use? Can I use Lennox Flux? I don't know what Lennox Flux is, but I use a 6040 Kester solder. No, not RGHing Xenons, XEX menus. I did your Xbox disk tray. We've addressed that like twice now. No, I don't recommend any certain stealth. Ninja I only mention because it's the biggest, baddest, whatever. You got a Xenon where you did RGH on it and your son is playing every day. Cool. Oh, this, you're trying to show me the tut. I see. Now I feel like I'm being an ass, because I really was. You were trying to link me to the 1.2 Xenon tutorial, which is what I asked for, and then I like jumped at you. So, yay, asshole Aaron. Sorry about that. Alright, I'm signing into 7sens right now. I have second factor auth on, so I've got to pull up my verification code, it sounds like. So, alright. So let's look at the webcam, and we'll look at this tut. So tools, irons, boot cell. He uses Auto GG. That's cool. Or JRunner. Okay. Let's test freeboot. Still editing. Does he provide some sort of different timing files? Let's see. Spoiler. So it's RGH 1.2 post. The rest of his pictures are gone. But he's doing the same wiring method that I am now, but he's using an ACE V3 with the 1.2. I've done this setup before. Where's the timing file that he recommends? ACE install diagram, example of your install. Okay, program the glitch chip. Dynamic file recommended at first to get booted. So he's not talking about a file that I'm unfamiliar with. This dynamic Ace V3 Fat RGH file. I've got a copy of it. I've played with it. I tried to use it on a couple of Zephyrs with really bad results. I genuinely have never given it that much of a shot on a Xenon. Maybe I should make some effort to get my hands on one and try that. Okay. Scrolling back down. Man, we love you. Highly appreciate thing. Switch off the chat if I'm being distracted. Hey, thanks for the cool vibes. That's good. Tempered Live and Deception Live are better. Cool. Why is the hate on the tut? You did it with a 360. Oh, I'm not trying to hate on it. It looks like a good tut, but the bunch of images were broken, and so yeah, maybe that dynamic file really does provide good boots on Xenons. I'm still not sure that I want to mess with them because of how high the chance of red ring is. I already deal with a couple of times a year somebody's fat console RGHs or excuse me red rings while I have it in my possession for RGH, and I mean I get it from the customer's perspective, right? They had a working console, they sent it to me, and then now I'm telling them, hey dude, your console is red ring. Like, I could understand why that would be worrisome, but the reality is that sometimes those fat consoles are like teetering on the brink of life, ready to red ring at any moment. And then my opening them up and RGHing them, even when I replace with brand new solder paste and do all that stuff. Oh, you guys aren't getting to see what I'm doing at all right now. That's totally lame. I just installed the D point. Anyway, the consoles have a tendency to fail then or very soon after. So, you know, homeboy gets his Xenon RGH, right, and it's struggling, and it makes it through my RGH process even maybe. It survives the RGH, and then I send it home, and he immediately starts playing the shit out of GTA 5 online for like 6 hours at a time. Well, that's probably way harder than the console has been used in like 10 years. So it takes a crap, and you know, then he's pissed at me. Man, my console only worked for a week after I got it back. So that's some of the reason that I avoid those as well. All right, so what I just installed was the D point here from the RGH 1 image within JRunner. You can see that point here as well. And then it routes down and then over to the corner where the fan is, and that's where it'll go up and get to the other side. That's the specific routing that you want to use on that point. And then it'll just kind of tuck down, and then I'll hit the D point with it on top of the chip here. So we'll trim that. And that is the last of the Kynar wire points that we'll have to do. We will do one final point here, but it is actually okay to use the AWG, the regular wire that like comes with this for that. And that's the B point. And I'll give a little spiel on that because that's a really common question, and one I'd like to make maybe even a little standalone video about why you shouldn't use the point that the Team Executor tutorials still seem to reference a lot. Files all the way at the bottom, yep. Would I do custom cutouts? No, it's not worth the time for what I charge. Zephyr's consoles, you have to make a Falcon image for good glitch times. Yeah, I've seen people who claim that, and I've done that on some builds, and it's just, bottom line is it just boils down to time. If it takes me 4 hours to tweak it out and deal with it, it's just not worth the hassle, man. Yeah, I could 80%. Yeah, but I want people to have the choice. And bottom line, if it doesn't have HDMI, and I know that even includes some Opuses which do, but then I don't have counted for on my site, I just really don't want to mess with Xenons. It's just not worth it, man. Don't want to. I appreciate all the feedback, but I'm just not going to do it. Sure, if you want to throw out somebody's name that is willing to do window cuts. I like turtles. Cool, I like turtles too. I like the Ninja Turtles. Where do I get my Cool Runner chips from? I get them from China in big bulk. I order them directly from China and wait like 3 weeks for them to be delivered, and usually order them about 100 at a time. I've gone as many as 200 or 300 when I used to sell them on eBay, but for my own personal use and the little bit of resale that I do via the website, I go through, I don't know, I guess I order 100 every 3 months or something, depending. So, but that's of each type. So I order 100 Rev Cs and 100 Ace V3s has been my recent orders. All right, so the B point that I just installed, right? We connected to B on the chip, and then I route the wire down and then over to this hole near the south bridge. Can I wait that long? Yeah. Sometimes if I'm in a hurry, I have a particular supplier out of China that I know that'll do DHL like 3 days for me. So if I'm like really running low. But the cheapest supplier that I found, and right, who doesn't want to pay the least possible, takes about 3 weeks. Most of that time is waiting for them to ship, actually, though. So, all right. I mentioned that I would do this. I'm getting distracted by chat again, so I think people are just going to have to deal with I'm not going to answer every message. So, I want to point out something. Take some video of this real clear, so as to make a big point. The D point, excuse me, not D, B is in boy, Bravo point, that is recommended in most Team Executor tutorials and a lot of other tutorials is a tiny little point right there. So there's this row of resistors, right? And then there's an open gap. The first open gap, they want you to solder not to the first one here, but to the second point. That's, well, it really doesn't matter because when these are bridged, they all go to the same place. So I think I actually just misspoke. It's that first point. Well, shit. Now I'm not sure, and I want to be sure, so I'm going to pull up the image. So let me show you guys. The desktop. We'll go Images, Cool Runner Fats. We'll do the RGH 2. And then let me resize my window. Sorry. It's been so long since I've used that point, I'm not even great at identifying it. There we go. So it is the second one that they're pointing out. So there's the row of resistors, and then there's this point here. There it is. It follows this trace. That's what it was. I was thinking these were a bridge, and they're not. So this trace, and then to this resistor. So one thing, if you are going to do this style of mod, I actually suggest trying to aim for the left side of this resistor. It actually makes no difference whether you connect to this pad right here or whether you were to connect to this side of this resistor. And if you aim here, you have a better chance of success, but be really careful not to overheat the resistor. Now, given that point, again, I'm going to go back to the camera here, and you can see just how tiny that is. This is the head of a set of tweezers. I mean, there's my finger. So it's really friggin' tiny, that little bitty point right there. And there's zero difference. I have done, I mean, so many consoles this way that I've absolutely proven that doing the B point on the alternative point that I'm suggesting, which is, so B here, route it down to the underside through hole, and then, so here's the hole that you popped up out of, and then the point that you're going to actually solder to. Let me see if this will focus. Yes, but it's got some shiny. There we go. Focus. 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 We're too close. I'm gonna have to back up. Now it's gonna focus. There we go. All right, so it's upside down the way that I have the orientation of the board, but this point, FT2R2. So it's, the thing is upside down right now. But that point just across from the hole. Here's the other hole that we routed our wire through. Just right here. It's a flat point. There's nothing around it for a wide area. You can solder to it just fine. And functionally, as far as boot times, I guarantee you there is no difference. And it's way less dangerous for the console. So, that's what I'm going to do now. Doe, thanks. Hello, Stegs. Inside point. Where's the wife tonight? She's upstairs. Am I doing one again tomorrow? I don't know. Why does Davis now always make fun of Weekend Modder? I don't know. He's never responded to any of my direct messages where I tried to give him the opportunity to talk to me like an adult. So I assume he's a child, and that's fine. I don't really worry about what children do. All right, so I just dropped something, but I'm not sure what it was. I just pre-tinned the end of my wire. I'm going to pre-tin that FT2R2 spot. And then it's just a real simple, same principle as all the other soldering that I mentioned. You hold the pre-tinned little spot to it. You tap it so that it all is nice together. And then a little dab of hot glue for protection in case somebody yanks on it so that we don't rip out the point. I've never actually damaged that point, so I don't know if the console boots without it, but it's such an easy point, right? The idea is that you shouldn't ever actually damage it. Yeah, maybe he is really good. I don't know. I'm not on Instagram that often, and that seems to be where all that stuff happens, so I pop around every now and then and get irritated and then leave, so it's fine. Cellar beef? Yeah, I don't know. Where did I learn to solder? Self-test. Or self-test? That's really weird. Self-taught. I'm self-taught. My dad did a little bit of soldering when I was a kid. You know, like mechanical soldering, wiring harnesses for cars and stuff. So I got the concept. Certain types of metal, you touch something hot and they turn into liquid, basically. So, anyway. All right, so now we've got all of our wires installed. We're ready to go ahead and program our glitch chip. So I'm going to get my NAND-X, and then I'm going to connect my NAND-X to Cool Runner. The points are labeled on the chip, so all you do is match up the labels to the labels. It's really, really idiot-proof. So now that that's connected, we can pop back over to JRunner. We can go Advanced, Custom NAND CR Functions, and then we hit XSVF because that's a timing file. And then these are all downloadable from the teamx360.co.uk. I've got the RGH IFUMAD matrix, and I programmed the 12_21 file as my starting point, but it usually handles it on these consoles. And as long as I get that nice done message, not a failed, I usually will choose to run it a second time just for kind of shits and giggles, just do it twice. And then pop back over, we can unplug. Make sure our chip position is in NOR, so it's got PRG and NOR, if the camera will focus. Here's a question for the audience then. You guys might be more YouTube knowledgeable than I am. What's a reasonably priced camera that I can get? I've got a really nice microphone, or not really nice, but I've got a way to hold the camera still, but I need a small lightweight webcam. I need a small lightweight webcam, but that focuses quickly, and maybe one that does 1080, because this is technically only 720. And the OBS software is upscaling it. Stegs, I'm gonna laugh when Davis gets hacked. We can monitor, forget. Yeah, I'm not trying to start a beef, guys. I really am not. I probably shouldn't have said what I said earlier, but he has called me out a couple of times on Instagram and said some things that either weren't true or were not, needed context or whatever. And when I've attempted to private message him, he doesn't respond to me in any way, so I'm done. I'm not trying to do anything there. I just want to let it go. So fan shroud going back in place. So we start booting. We make sure we don't overheat anything. How would I connect a USB to the motherboard? What points if possible? So in a FAT, it's not possible that I know of. In a Slim, if you have one of the Trinities that had a 4 gig module, that 4 gig module is actually a USB header with a little square chip on top of it. That header could be soldered to, and I've seen people put as much as 128 gig USB sticks basically inside the casing on that. If you do a bit of Google searching for the Trinity 4 gig USB mod sort of thing, Boss Drift, you unplug the SATA cable into the DVD unit, the red cable. Alright, so there is I'm going to plug in my Ethernet. So I'm ready to capture the CPU key when we boot Zell. Oh, we actually need to write the ECC file, so that's good. We've got standby power connected. You can see the LED light on here. We need to plug in the Nandex and go back to JRunner. And then for this, we're doing glitch 2. It's actually RGH 2, not CR4. So we'll say create ECC. It is a Falcon. We'll say OK. We'll say write ECC. And that should go real fast. Alright, so there's our ECC file written. So now we can disconnect the Nandex. I like to power cycle anytime I read or write from the NAND, so I unplug and replug. And then we should be good to go for our first boot. So look at the LED flash pattern on this. That's what would be glitching on the front ring, and it only happened once, right? Insta-boot. But that pattern is what would glitch on screen or on the front ring of light LED if I installed those still. So that was an insta-boot. Alright, 239 is the IP that I got. So I'm actually over in JRunner. I typed in that 239. I say get CPU key. We pull in the key. For some reason it defaults back over to JTAG here, so I change it back to glitch 2. I create XE build image. While that's going on, I pop over to the console, physically turn it off, then unplug, replug, even though I didn't actually write anything, replug in my Nandex, back over to JRunner, and write NAND. And that's writing now the updflash.bin. Alright, hey being a seller, how did you get popular and people to pay for your service? I was persistent. Probably TTG is the biggest thing I owe thanks to, because I started selling on TTG and made friends with the mod there and eventually proved myself pretty good and was able to become a trusted seller. My YouTube videos really drive most of my traffic, so... what if someone asked to be done with a flashlight that would... Is it possible on FAT? What if someone asked for that to be done, knowing that will flash like that? What question are you asking? Is Team Executor still against stealth service? They still don't allow discussion of it on their forums. So, I guess that would probably be a yes. I mean, those people, same members I see on other forums talk about it with no problem, but the official rules on Team X site haven't changed as far as I know. They still don't allow you to talk about that on the Team Executor forums. Burn. Alright, so now we're burning the backup disk. Nice grammar. Yeah, I'm a little bit drunk. The points are by the hard drive input spot on the motherboard. Can I help you fix your JRunner? No. About the glitch. Alright, we finished. Gotta keep going. So that was the UPD flash.bin written back to the console. Do a quick power. And then now when we boot, so you can see the ring of light. Now when we boot, we should get a regular looking dashboard on screen. So there we go, another insta boot, and then there it is booting up into kind of regular dash. No, X-Key was a totally separate team. They did the Cobra ODDE stuff, and then I think moved on to the X-Key stuff. Yeah, so first boot, first insta boot. Why is it taking so? Oh, there it goes. All right, so there's it booting to dash. So we'll power back off. Next steps are going to be return or remove the NAND header and reassemble. All right, so removing the NAND wires is real easy. Just apply some heat and pull. Be sure not to damage your tool or heat up something that you're not supposed to, but it goes really fast. And then you end up with a bunch of extra solder on the points. And if you're careful and you learn the technique a little bit, you can kind of clean that off by making it all glob on to the end of your iron and leave those points not nearly as raised, way more tidy. That's what I like to do usually. And then cotton pad with some alcohol. Careful not to, mess with those caps too much. They're flexing a little bit under what I'm doing, but they're still in their spot. So that's all cleaned up. Oh, also another thing that might get me made fun of is I've had consoles come back returned because these switches accidentally got bumped either in transit or by the customer. So what I do is just put a tiny little bridge of glue kind of keeping it from being able to be easily changed. When that dries, you can totally just flake it off with one finger. It's not really a big deal. But by putting it on there, it makes it not accidentally slide the wrong way. I was talking about when you put the glitch LED on the front of the nose, it will flash crazy. I guess I could add that on. Yeah, maybe. It's just another complication. I'm really trying to streamline things. My idea is that I'd like to do less mods myself and do more tutorials and selling of mod supplies. I'd like to position myself to be able to sell a bunch of kits. If I could sell you or give you an Amazon link, right, that was like $40 worth of soldering supplies, a soldering iron, flux, solder, Kynar wire, a few things that maybe I don't want to sell. If I can give you that link, plus give you a package deal on my site that includes like a Nandex, a Cool Runner. I really would like to find a cheaper programmer than the Nandex. I'd like to find something like the JR programmers or the Super Nandex. The last couple of times that I bought batches of the Super Nandex, their quality control was really, not Super Nandex, Super Nand Reader Writer, the Chinese clone of the Nandex. Their quality control was really bad, and unless you had a super short USB and unplugged and replugged it in about 1,000 times, you couldn't hardly get through a mod using them. Can you damage resistors and stuff using hot glue? No. You still don't you have to cut the USB to connect Apo. What up, Xbox Modder? Good to see you, man. I don't know what you're saying, Doe Games. I still don't get, do I have to cut the USB to connect Apo? Why would somebody buy an RGH with the flash console? Just install the game to the hard drive. No, I totally agree with that. I don't sell my RGH consoles are not flashed for that reason. Because why do you need a flashed console if it's a flippin' RGH? Like, absolutely agree with that statement. I sell X-keyed and flash though. So if you want the ability to be able to read ISO games from USB or play backup copies of disk, X-key and flash makes sense to me. That seems reasonable. But RGH and flash doesn't really make a lot of sense to me. It doesn't seem like it's even worth the effort. I had one guy when I lived in my own townhouse who brought me a console that was already X-keyed. He had it RGH. We had a long conversation about why he would possibly want that. He had it RGH and it was already flashed. It was already X-keyed, and he wanted me to RGH it. And the biggest challenge was that the X-key and the RGH have an overlapping functionality. Is that put the X-key in regular disk drive mode, you have to press the eject button to boot it, right? And that puts the X-key in bypass and allows you to use the disk. But under normal settings with an RGH, if you boot with eject, you get Zell, right? Why would you... So the X-key is now in bypass mode, but you're in Zell, which does you no good. So what I ended up doing was... what channel? Why is this not going there? What I ended up doing... Oh, it's broken. That's why. The plastic thing is broken. No big deal. We just won't put that one screw in. So there are XE build settings that will allow you to specify alternate methods of triggering Zell. You can make Zell come on when you power it on with an infrared remote, or there's a couple of other options. So, yep, Xbox Modder nailed it before I got there. He was absolutely right. You just change the options in XE build to select a different way. Okay, you have to solder a female wire to the solder ports on the board. Data 1, you don't know at the moment it's possible, but Google it because it's possible you've done it. Oh, you're talking to the other guy. Yeah. So you're probably talking about that Trinity one where you wanted to put a USB on the motherboard. I don't have the specific guidance to give you. I've never done it personally. I've seen it documented. Probably could do it with very little difficulty, but you just install the 4 wires that make up USB. I wouldn't put a female socket on that though. I would actually just permanently solder in whatever USB device you're trying to attach. An X-key console is really a broken disk drive flash. What? No. An X-key is a console that has a device in it that pretends to be the disk drive while it's in fact reading ISO image files of the disk from a USB source. What I said, change XB field. Okay, I'm sorry, Blue Snow. You get the credit. You said it first and I missed it. I apologize. You're no help. Oh, no, it's not a problem. Doe games. Some said I could hook up a USB, a 2 FAT, by using the points in between the NAND and the console hard drive input. Doe games, I don't know about that one. It might be possible on a FAT, but you're talking about a FAT too. Okay, cool. I've never done it. I don't think I've actually seen that documentation. So, good luck is what I can say. I don't have that one down for you. Sorry. All right, so I just put the eject button in. Now I'm going to put the back side of the case in. We'll snap all back together here. Come on, bad boy. Oh, there it goes. Clickety click. All right. Man, he goes. You also risk getting banned with an X key. Absolutely low risk. I will argue that all day long, man. I have customers that have had X key consoles for years follow up and contact me looking for like ISO files and stuff, and their systems are running just fine. With the X key, if you played before the street date, right? So if you played prior to release date, you definitely risked it. But because like Gears of War, what was it, 3 maybe? Halo 4. There was a couple of big games that actually leaked almost a month early, towards the end of the life of the 360, and those those games people played on the X key early, and got hella banned. But they're not even releasing 360 games anymore, hardly. There's like a trickle of them. So as long as you don't play games before their release date, I think an X key is just about the lowest chance of a ban mod that there is. Flashing an X key having approximately equal risk levels. Alright, so there's the console all buttoned up. We got 2 Instaboots back to back, so I didn't bother. I'm going to get these 2 here, and I'm going to power it up. Mr. Knife? Yeah, I got banned, but it was because I set up the wrong DVD key. Oh, yeah, well, that would do it too. Yeah, you don't risk getting banned hardly at all. ISO mods will definitely put you higher on the list. That's totally a true statement. Alright, so there we go. We booted up. Sometimes I worry about the fact that I'm showing these gamer tags on here. I hope people don't feel like... I guess customers would let me know if they're getting harassed afterwards by people, like friending their gamer tag because they saw it on my channel or something. There's only like 300... Well, no. Crap, this is on the main channel, so there's like 5,000 subscribers. So plug in the update one first, which I should have done before. Storage devices. So we'll see if we get prompted for a avatar update. And we didn't, so I'm going to unplug that USB and I'm going to plug in the red one that has everything else on it. So it's going to refresh a couple of times here. Alright, so there we go, down to memory unit, to demos, copy that to the hard drive. Install an ISO disk to the RGH. Can't you just use the ripping function built into Oh, you're talking about the X key. Can't you just use the built-in ripping function from Freestyle Dash or XEX menu? Or does it not save all the contents when you do it that way? Alright, so we're launching XEX menu. We're going to use it to copy and paste. So I'm going to copy, paste, dash launch. Then I'm going to copy, paste, freestyle, and we already did, XEX menu. And we launch, dash launch, and then set the default boot to freestyle. We froze? Might have froze. Let me give it a second. Yeah, these hard drives are sometimes just slow. There it goes. So write the XEX, the launch.ini, and there we go. And there it is. A complete streamed Falcon RGH 1.2 end-to-end every step along the way. Again, this isn't meant to be the ultimate guide. My intention with this is really to use this raw footage to cut it down. But yeah, I was following this and got a Falcon Instaboot, and you wanted to say thanks. You are very welcome. That's what this is right now, is a Falcon Instaboot. So it actually works more reliably as an Instaboot on a Falcon than it does on a Jasper, which I don't know why, but I'm sure that it has the same explanation as the fact that when RGH1 was a thing, Falcons Instabooted RGH1 all the time as well. So let's do one final boot just to show boot times from it being completely off to an Instaboot Falcon, right? So the same sort of time it took for retail. And then it's going to boot up directly into Freestyle Dashboard. There's a new version of Dash Launch? Really? 3.8 point what? 3.18 point something else? .18.1. That's what I have, bro. Let me show you again here. File manager, hard drive, 3.18.1. Is there something newer than that? Fixes GTA 5 mod menu crashes. Cool. Where did I get the Xbox I sold you? Yeah, I'm not giving up my supplier right now, so sorry. I'm just, yeah. So there it is, powering off the console, and I don't know, I almost kind of don't feel like stopping. It's only 4:30. I'm going to take a break. That's what I'm going to do. So right now, my local time, it's 4:35. I'm going to take a break till 5 o'clock, so 25 minutes. And I'm going to come back and do, I've got one more send-in still, and I'm going to work on that one. When I come back, I may roll with the chat disabled, though. I'm not sure. Also, I'm going to fix this stream health setting that's bugging me at the top of the window. So, Xbox Modder, don't be sorry. I'll be back in 24 minutes at 5 p.m. Mountain Time. See you then. How do I stop this? Oh, yeah. Here we go.